Made possible through support from the Arc of Aurora, PASCO, Personal Assistance Services of Colorado, and Developmental Pathways. A THINK+change training.
Hey there, this is Jeff.
And I'm Petrie. We are advocates with the Arc of Aurora, and we are here today offering a THINK+change training on a specific topic as it pertains to people with IDD. Jeff, you want to tell us what we're talking about today?
Yes, I do. Today's topic is residential options for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Let's start with the SLS waiver and the DD waiver.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to share about that. We discussed kind of the details of the SLS waiver and the DD waiver in another series. Today we're going to hone in just a little bit more on how those waivers help offer residential options. In terms of the SLS waiver, the SLS waiver gives an individual that dignity of choice so that they can make some or have options to make the kind of choice that they would like in terms of how they want to live. So a variety of different options. You can live in an apartment on your own. You can live in an apartment with a roommate, with a family member. You can have a pet. You could even live with another person with an intellectual or developmental disability as a roommate. These options also come, though, with supported services through a residential agency that kind of helps manage where you live and the supports that you might need. So an example is you might need some assistance with medication management. You might need some help doing grocery shopping or cleaning the apartment.
I do.
Errands. You do. Or running errands, maybe even some people to help take you to medical appointments. So all of those services are kind of wrapped into your residential, but you live in your home or your apartment, and those services then come into your...
Oh, I see. So SLS, the services are coming into where you live.
Exactly.
And the DD waiver
is a little different.
Okay. Well, you got to tell me about that eventually.
Okay, so we'll move on to the DD waiver. There are some options within that as well. One of them is the family caregiver, but we're actually going to discuss that in another series, so look for that. Right now, we're going to talk about host homes a little bit more in depth. What is a host home? It is also, a host home is through a residential agency. So the residential agencies then employ these host home providers. These are people that have homes in the community that open their homes up to an individual with an IDD and allow them to live a little more independently within this person's home.
I have a question. I think it's probably really important to carefully select a host home, right?
It's very important. And it really kind of starts with the agency. So you even want to look at multiple residential agencies before you choose one of those. And then from there, it's really important to do your due diligence. You might want to go see 2, 3, or 4 different host homes before you choose one, because this is where you're going to be living. And these are the people that on a day-to-day basis you're going to be interacting with, and the people who are going to kind of help support you in your activities of daily living. So they may help you with dressing, with bathing, maybe cooking. And again, they also then provide all of those other supports in terms of transporting you to activities, possibly to day program, to medical appointments.
So what I'm getting, though, is that most of the support in a host home is coming from that host home provider in the home.
That's right. It's coming
Whereas
from within the home.
If you're on an SLS waiver, they're coming into your home, but that's not necessarily the person that lives with you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. One thing I do want to point out, though, about host homes, Jeff, that I think is really important is you really want to make sure that you have a sense of dignity in this host home. You don't want to feel like you're just a guest in this home, maybe that you're just kind of put to the side or in one room and you don't have access and interaction.
If you feel like that, you need to contact your ARC advocate.
Absolutely.
Or your case manager. You need to let somebody know.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is very important that you feel an integral part of this home and the people or person that is living in this home.
cool. Well, thanks for sharing about the host home. Yeah. I wanted to bring up another option that comes through the EBD waiver and the Community Mental Health Supports Waiver.
Which is kind of an unusual and not very well-known waiver.
Right, but we're trying to get the word out. It's there, it's available, and it has a lot of things to offer. And you don't necessarily have to have a disability to be on that Community Mental Health Supports Waiver. But with that in mind, an option that comes along with those waivers is called an alternative care facility. Now, these are Medicaid-approved facilities, so it's not just any apartment building you see or any kind of medical complex. It's a little more complicated than that. It has to be Medicaid certified, and they offer specific services for elders and people with disabilities who need 24-hour protective oversight, assist with daily living skills, personal care, homemaker. That all comes from inside the alternative care facility. And once again, if you're on the EBD waiver or the Community Mental Health Supports Waiver, you don't have to live in an alternative care facility, but you can if you want to. And I would say, if that's something you're interested in, there's a lot of them out there. You can get a list from your case manager, you can get a list from your advocate, but I encourage you to check out multiple facilities before you make a decision.
Just like we talked about with the host providers.
And just pretty much in general, I want to go off on a tangent here and say anything that is going to affect your life, check out as many options as you can before you make a decision. Don't just take the first thing.
Yeah, that's really important.
Okay, with that in mind, there are some other things you can do. Have you ever heard of Section 8?
I have heard of Section 8.
Do you know that it's a voucher?
A voucher it's subsidized housing, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit more.
Well, okay, so in the city of Aurora, the Public Housing Authority is called the Housing Authority of the City of Aurora, which is tough to say. Yes. But with that in mind, they participate in the Section 8 voucher program, and all Section 8 vouchers really is it's a way to assist people with lower income in order to pay their rent. So, say your rent is $1,000. Okay. And these are just numbers I'm making up for you to understand this better. But say your rent is $1,000 and you have a voucher through Section 8 for $700. You use that voucher and then you pay $300 of your money, and then you make that rent. Does that make sense? And these numbers are I just use these numbers. Don't take that for, at face value. It's just to kind of demonstrate. Yeah, just an example. But yeah, I really think Section 8 is a great option. A lot of times it's closed, the waiting list, so you need to constantly check in. There are other private housing authorities you can look into. I would contact your ARC advocate. You could also probably reach out to anyone that would be able to help you kind of navigate a computer or system to find out about those private housing authorities. So with that in mind, other options, you could, like you said earlier, you could get a roommate. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you can't have a roommate, and your roommate doesn't have to have a disability. You could live, like you said, I just want to say this again though, you could live with your cousin, you could live with a friend from high school, you could live with someone that, your parents know that they think is a good match. Just don't limit yourself. You don't have to just go the path that you think you're supposed to go. There's a lot of options with housing.
Which kind of circles back to that whole choice piece, which is so important, I think.
Absolutely. Choice, I can't say enough about choice. Choice is ultimately what you need to live a meaningful life.
Absolutely.
Because you are in charge of your life.
Yeah, participating in your own life.
Great. Well, I think we kind of covered a lot of the residential options. And, there are some more, but that's all we had time for today.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in and sharing this time with us. Stay tuned for more THINK+change trainings that will be coming your way.
Catch you next time.